Can AI detectors save us from ChatGPT? I tried 3 online tools to find out. In this installment, my AI buddy and I are looking at the question of whether it's possible to fight back against AI-generated plagiarism, and how that might work. While someone using an AI tool like Notion AI or ChatGPT isn't stealing content, if that person doesn't credit the words as coming from an AI and claims them as their own, it still meets the dictionary definition of plagiarism. I'll also be using 3 online ChatGPT plagiarism detectors, which I'll describe in more detail below. Explain why ChatGPT can be a real problem for teachers and editors when it comes to plagiarism. ChatGPT is a variant of the GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformer, language model developed by OpenAI. It is designed to generate human-like text by predicting the next word or phrase in a given input sequence. While ChatGPT can be a useful tool for generating text and responding to prompts, it can also be a problem for teachers and editors when it comes to plagiarism. One of the main reasons why ChatGPT can be a problem for teachers and editors is that it can generate text that is very similar to that of real human writers. This means that students or other individuals could potentially use ChatGPT to generate text that they could then submit as their own work, thereby committing plagiarism. For teachers and editors, detecting whether a given piece of text was generated by ChatGPT or written by a human can be very difficult, as the generated text may not contain any obvious errors or discrepancies that would reveal its artificial origin. This can make it difficult for teachers and editors to identify and prevent plagiarism, as they may not be able to tell whether a given piece of text is original or copied from another source. Overall, ChatGPT and other similar language models can be a problem for teachers and editors when it comes to plagiarism because they can generate text that is difficult to distinguish from that written by humans, making it easier for students and other individuals to commit plagiarism without being detected. Show me at least 3 ways that I can detect ChatGPT was used to produce a piece of text. There are several ways that you can potentially detect whether ChatGPT or another language model was used to produce a piece of text. Look for repetitive or unusual patterns in the text. One way to detect whether a language model was used to generate a piece of text is to look for repetitive or unusual patterns in the writing. For example, language models may repeat certain phrases or word combinations, or use unusual or inconsistent sentence structures. Check for lack of originality. Another way to detect whether a language model was used to generate a piece of text is to check for a lack of originality in the writing. If a piece of text appears to be copied from another source, or if it contains information that is widely available on the internet or in other sources, it could be a sign that it was generated by a language model. Use a plagiarism checker. Finally, you can use a plagiarism checker to check whether a piece of text appears to be copied from another source. While a plagiarism checker may not be able to definitively determine whether a language model was used to generate a piece of text, it can help you identify instances of copying or paraphrasing from other sources. Keep in mind that it can be difficult to definitively determine whether a language model was used to generate a piece of text, and these methods may not always be effective. However, they can be useful tools to help you identify potential instances of language model-generated text. List 3 plagiarism checkers that can detect ChatGPT text. It is worth noting that there is currently no plagiarism checker that is specifically designed to detect text generated by ChatGPT or other language models. While some plagiarism checkers may be able to identify certain characteristics of language model-generated text that could indicate its artificial origin, there is no guarantee that they will be able to definitively determine whether a piece of text was generated by a language model. With that said, here are 3 plagiarism checkers that you might consider using to help identify potential instances of language model-generated text. It compares a piece of text to a database of other texts to identify instances of copying or paraphrasing. While it may not be able to definitively determine whether a piece of text was generated by a language model, it could potentially identify certain characteristics of language model-generated text that could indicate its artificial origin. PlagScan. PlagScan is another plagiarism checker that compares a piece of text to a database of other texts to identify instances of copying or paraphrasing. Like Turnitin, it may be able to identify certain characteristics of language model-generated text that could indicate its artificial origin, but it is not specifically designed to detect language model-generated text. Copyleaks. Copyleaks is a plagiarism checker that uses advanced machine learning algorithms to scan a piece of text and compare it to a database of other texts to identify instances of copying or paraphrasing. While it may be able to identify certain characteristics of language model-generated text, it is not specifically designed to detect language model-generated text. It is worth noting that no plagiarism checker is completely foolproof, and there is always the possibility that a piece of language model-generated text could escape detection. No result, Content at Scale AI Content Detection, 86% human content score. Most plagiarism detectors are used to compare writing against a corpus of other writing. For example, when a student turns in an essay, a product like Turnitin scans the submitted essay against a huge library of other essays in its database, as well as against other documents and text on the internet to determine if the submitted essay contains already written content. But the AI writing tools generate original content, at least in theory. As such, the plagiarism checkers mentioned above probably won't work, because the AI-generated content probably didn't exist in, say, another student's paper. So I took to Google and searched for detectors specifically designed to look for the telltale signatures of AI-driven content. 100% human-generated content. GPT-2 output detector, accuracy 66%. While the company has received $40 million in funding to develop its natural language library, the GPT-2 detector appears to be a user-created tool using the Hugging Face Transformers library. Its AI content detector tool can scan for generated content. We've now got the necessary scaling behind it to make sure it doesn't go down, and our goal is to keep it free and up to date to catch the latest model's outputs, including ours. The third tool I found was also produced by an AI content generation firm, however this one seemed to work reliably. AI-driven plagiarism is a growing problem, as AI tools like Notion AI and ChatGPT can generate text that is difficult to distinguish from that written by humans. There are several ways to detect whether a piece of text was generated by an AI, such as looking for repetitive or unusual patterns, checking for a lack of originality, or using a plagiarism checker. Plagiarism checkers like Turnitin, PlagScan, and Copyleaks may be able to identify certain characteristics of language model-generated text, but they are not foolproof. The best case was the GPT-2 output detector, but it only got 2/3 of the text submitted correct. Instead, we're going to have to rely on human perception, which means folks have to pay attention, in order to identify works that were generated by an AI. As we've all come to know, humans are quite capable of writing some incredibly bad stuff all on their own. Can you tell if a piece is AI generated? Have you used these AI writing tools in the months since they suddenly all became available? As a language model, I can't see or interact with physical pieces of writing, so I can't tell if a piece is AI generated or not. However, I can tell you that there are several AI writing tools that are available, and they can be used to generate a wide range of written content, including news articles, fiction, poetry, and more. However, I can tell you that some people have found AI writing tools to be helpful in education and journalism, as they can save time and effort by automating certain tasks. Others have expressed concerns about the potential for these tools to be used to produce misleading or biased content, or to replace human writers. Ultimately, whether AI writing tools are a help or hindrance depends on how they are used and the context in which they are used.